Hello.
Hi.
I'm here with my daughter Izzy, and Nelson's behind the camera. We wanted to share a fun recipe with you today. It is called Thai coconut soup. We're going to make it with mushrooms. And do you have anything you want to say today? Say hi to Grandma.
Oh, hi, Grandma.
Izzy was going to say hi to Grandma. She's watching.
Hi.
Are you going to help me with the meal today, or are you going to do homework, or what are you going to do?
I can't.
You going to work on something?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for starting off the show with us. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
So, we'll have plenty of time to kind of talk about this recipe and other stuff once we get started. I just want to get started right away so that our broth can steep for a while. That's kind of the most important thing, is to get the flavors infused into the broth. So you can start with 4 cups of either a light vegetable stock that doesn't have tomatoes in it, so something that's made with like onions, carrots, and celery would be a perfect one, or a chicken stock, and that's what I have here, a homemade chicken stock. But I've also made it with vegetarian, vegetable stock, and it's really delicious too. And then I'm going to start by putting in some of our aromatic ingredients. So lemongrass is our first one here. I'm just going to trim the edges that are kind of the dry parts. And lemongrass smells so delicious. You can even get a lemongrass essential oil if you want. It's got such a refreshing lemony smell to it. And so I'm going to cut those long lemongrass pieces into about 2-inch lengths. And then I'm just going to bruise them a little bit, kind of like you're smashing a piece of garlic. And the reason why I'm going to do that is just so that you can get a little opening in there to infuse the flavor of the lemongrass through the dish. And also, with the pieces being this big, we'll be able to pull them out whenever we want. Typically or traditionally, these pieces are left in the broth, even though you're not going to eat these. These are very fibrous. They're not poisonous, but they're just too fibrous to chew. So traditionally, you would leave these in, and then you would just fish them out of your bowl of soup. And the reason why you leave them in is because they smell so wonderful. You actually want them to stay in the soup as long as possible to impart the most flavor. And also, even when you get your bowl at the table, if you're at a restaurant, they want the smell from the lemongrass coming out of the bowl to be really strong. So it's such a nice flavor. And it is kind of a subtle scent. It's not super pungent or anything like that. So it does help to keep those in there. Sometimes I use a metal skimmer and I fish those out after it's been simmering for about 30 minutes. But I think today, since we don't have quite as much time to simmer for 30 full minutes, I'll probably just leave them in, and then you can see how big they are. They'll be easy to fish out either when serving or after that. But literally, I've been to a bunch of Thai restaurants where I've ordered Tom Kha soup, which is another name for Thai coconut soup. And it's come with all of the big pieces of all of the aromatics right in the soup. So I would not be the first one to do that. So now I've got some ginger, and you can also use a rhizome called galangal, which has a darker brown skin. And on the inside, instead of being yellow like ginger, it's more white, a paler color than this. And so sometimes I can find that at my grocery store, and sometimes I can't. I didn't search high and low for it this time. I know in town you can either get it occasionally at Central Market or at Thai Fresh. The restaurant has, I think it might even be in the freezer. They have galangal that they have in the freezer, and they'll sell it to you. for making these kind of soups. And so today I'm going to use ginger. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slices. Anywhere between 5 and 10 slices is fine. Ginger varies in size, and it's not super strong when you just put it in like this. I'm just going to make sure, since I didn't peel it, I'm going to make sure that there's no, kind of looks like there might have been a little bit of dirt on the outside that I should have washed off. So just make sure don't get too much dirt in there. Okay, I'll put the ginger in. Same with the ginger, we can easily fish that out when we're eating the soup. It's kind of like if you get a spiced rice at an Indian restaurant and they have big cardamom pods or big black cumin or seed, big cinnamon stick. They're not expecting you to eat those spices. Maybe they'll even have whole cloves, but they just want you to be able to smell the aroma from those spices when it comes to your table. And so it's the same exact thing that we're doing here. Now I have some, oh, did you want to say something?
Michael Elzefan from California.
Oh yeah.
He's watching.
Hi Michael, thanks for tuning in. Great to hear from you. So I have some lime leaves here I actually got from a neighbor's tree, but you can buy Kefir lime leaves that are super aromatic if you want to put those in your soup. Sometimes they're just called lime leaves because they're not actually the Kefir lime leaves. They can sometimes be real hard to find. Now sometimes I put some cilantro stems in there. I was able to find, and these I actually will fish out later because they're the roots, but I was able to find some cilantro with the roots in it. I'm going to put those kind of over to the side so I can find those later and fish them out. But you can put like a few stems of cilantro. Could you get the tissue box for me? And then sometimes I put a clove or two of garlic in, sometimes I don't. It's kind of if I happen to have it on hand, I smash it and put the, that was a pretty big garlic clove, so I think one is going to be enough. Okay. And then I've got some red pepper flakes. You can also use some red Thai chili, like 1 or 2. You can bruise it like I did with the lemongrass and the garlic, and then just go ahead and put it in whole. And you may want to fish that out before you serve the bowls, just in case someone tries to bite into it. Thai chilies are extremely hot. I usually do red pepper flakes because I can't really handle the heat of the Thai chili, but other people love it, so it's just up to your preference.
Your mom is here.
Hello, Mom. Thank you for tuning in. Izzy was here a little earlier. You may not have seen her, but she came on to say hi. So in our pot here, in case you're tuning in just now, is some chicken stock, 4 cups, and then you can also use a light vegetable stock. Hopefully it's not tomato based. You want it to be like the carrot, onion, celery type of veggie stock. And then to the stock, I added lemongrass, 2 stalks cut into 2-inch pieces and then kind of bruised or smashed on the cutting board. A clove of garlic, which is optional. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Some lime leaves, a little bit of cilantro, and about 8 slices of ginger. I didn't grate up the ginger because I want to be able to pull it out later. So some other things that we're going to need besides those aromatics are some onion. Sometimes I make it with onion, sometimes I leave it out. Today I'm going to put some onion in. And then we've got some mushrooms, and I've got oyster mushrooms and shiitake. I thought those would be nice to have different flavors. You can also put chicken in here, either like if you have leftover cooked chicken, like from a rotisserie chicken, or you have some leftover chicken breast that hasn't really been seasoned that much, or even chicken thighs, you can cut that up and put it in right at the last minute just to warm it up. Or if you have fresh chicken pieces, you can put that in at the same time that we're going to put the mushrooms, because it only needs, you know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes to cook, and it'll be done. And let's see, some other ingredients. I'm going to put this coconut milk in a minute. That will add to the broth. We want this to kind of all the flavors from those aromatics to go into the broth and the coconut milk. So we'll add that in a minute. Make sure this is high enough. And then we have some flavorings. These are my favorite ones to use. I love the Red Boat brand of fish sauce. Can you see it, Nelson? So this is a very special brand of fish sauce. It's made with natural fermentation off of an island off of Vietnam. It's a man from San Francisco that I think is Asian American, and he started this company because he was looking for an authentic fish sauce that didn't have sugar, that was made from natural fermentation, and he couldn't find any in the US, so he made his own company. And I think he was a former tech worker, and he became an entrepreneur and started making this sauce. So anyway, about 5 years ago, I discovered this sauce. I don't know, maybe that's when it first started coming on the market. And it is so amazing, so delicious. It only has 2 ingredients. So no MSG, no sugar, no coloring. It's just all natural. It has anchovies and sea salt. And of course, it's fermented anchovies that go through a long process of fermenting. You can read all about it on the package, but if you're not vegetarian, I highly recommend that you get some of this. I use it in a lot of things like pad thai. I mean, it's already half gone, and we opened this a few weeks ago, so we actually use it in a lot of different recipes. So I don't think it's one of those things that you'll buy and will never use again. You can find a lot of recipes that use fish sauce. But if you are vegetarian and aren't going to be using fish sauce, you can use a combination of lime juice and tamari, or cocoa aminos, or some kind of soy sauce or soy sauce alternative, along with the lime juice, will give it the salty, tangy, sour taste that you're looking for. And you may need to add some extra salt, like sea salt, to your soup to blend the flavors to get the right balance of flavors, because fish sauce is very salty. So if you're leaving the fish sauce out, you might need a little bit of extra salt. You'll just have to taste the broth, taste the soup, and see. But I am going to use the lime in our recipe for a garnish later.
Jordan is here.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, so I'm going to do a little recap of what we're doing here, in case you tuned in just now. And I'm going to bring out our final ingredients. Some more ingredients that are going to go for garnishing our cilantro and our lime wedges. You can either put whole leaves of cilantro as a garnish. That can be a nice touch. Or you can put chopped cilantro like I'm doing. So I'm just slicing up our garnishes now so that I don't forget about it later. We never want to forget the garnishes for our soups. That's one thing that my culinary instructor always emphasized. So we'll have different options for the garnishes, either green onion or cilantro or lime juice that you squeeze on right at the end. Or you can do all 3. So just as a very quick recap, in our pot we've got, and I just want to check on it too, got some lime leaves. If you don't have those, no problem. I have made this plenty of times without the lime leaves, but it does add a nice aromatic effect. Lemongrass, ginger, a little cilantro stems, and red pepper flakes in about 4 cups of either veggie or chicken stock. I have chicken stock here. Something I forgot to mention, if you don't have lemongrass, you can substitute lemon peel. It won't be exactly the same, but I have successfully done that before. So maybe like 3 or 4 strips of lemon peel that you could cut off the lemon with a peeler, like a vegetable peeler. It'd be worth a try. Because I know lemongrass can be hard to find. I actually want to start growing lemongrass in a pot because it's so delicious, and I don't want to have to pay $2 or $3 for 2 little stalks. Putting some coconut milk in right now. I don't know if you've seen this brand before, but this Native Forest brand has a coconut milk without any gums in it, no guar gum or anything, no carrageenan. So you might be able to find this. Where did you find it, Nelson?
Central Market.
We found it at Central Market. Just added the coconut milk. It's already looking like a tom kha soup now. So good. So I'm gonna bring that back up to a simmer. And the reason why I haven't added anything else yet, and I'm going kind of slowly with this, is because this does take a little bit of time to steep and kind of infuse all those flavors into the broth. Now I think I'll slice up the onion, just a little bit of this onion, maybe since it's such a big onion, either a quarter or a half of this onion is going to be enough. Let's see. Put this in a vegetable stock bag to make later. Love to do that when it's time to make a stock or finish off a chicken stock or something. You can just go into your freezer and get a bag of veggie scraps. Usually we save things like scallions, parsley stems, onions, you know, the outer, after you get the first peel off, there's another layer that you usually have to peel off of the onion. Save those, the tops and bottoms of carrots and celery. You can use like a lot of the celery that you're not going to end up putting in your meal. You can just put all the leaves and the root and everything into a freezer bag and then just drop it right into your stock at the end of boiling bones or just to make a simple veggie stock. Okay, so I'm actually going to cut that in half and then slice it this way. So it's almost like a quarter of an onion ring. That way it'll be. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you all about a fundraiser that I started on my Facebook page. I'll be sure to post it again. I'll share it again so it'll be at the top of my page right after this show. But I would love for you all to look into this organization, whether you're able to contribute at this time or another time, or maybe you want to share the fundraiser on your page to get some of your friends involved. I would really appreciate that. It is for the organization called the World Kitchen, now I'm going to say it wrong, World Central Kitchen? I think it's called the World Central Kitchen. It is run by a famous Spanish chef who has joined forces with volunteers and chefs all over the country and all over the world to respond to crises, natural disasters, So like right now, where the wildfires are, where the hurricanes and tropical storms have hit, where the pandemic has made it impossible for schools to open, and kids all summer long needed food that usually get food from schools, school lunch programs and summer lunch programs. They have been there on the front lines making delicious, nutritious, hot meals and putting them in to-go containers, because this isn't the type of climate where we can have buffets anymore. They, I'm sure, have had to change it a lot. I've seen how they package things in individual containers now and distribute them. And this is really large scale. They set up, wherever they can. Sometimes they set up in food trucks. Sometimes they set up huge tents that are in like an enormous parking lot, and they cook outside. Sometimes they're in convention centers. Sometimes they're, basically anywhere that they can set up a generator or, portable stoves and just start cooking. It's really amazing. It's like every chef's dream to be able to, take off from work for however many months and feed people that truly need nourishing food because they're going through such hard times. And, could die or get sick or sicker if they don't get nourishment. I volunteered one time when there was a hurricane a couple years ago on the Gulf Coast, and they were housing people in Austin, and this was the Red Cross, and I remember being so disappointed and distraught and feeling very helpless about the situation where people were being housed in the convention. It was like what's the Tony Berger Center? It's like it's a school system place where they hold tournaments and things, huge kind of indoor venue and outdoor football stadium and lots of parking. Anyway, that was one of the places, I'm not going to put that in quite yet, one of the places where they were housing people that were displaced from the hurricane. And these people are generally the least fortunate people because they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have the money to stay in a hotel. They don't have relatives that can put them up. And so they are really at the mercy of other people to help them in a crisis. And the day that I was volunteering, the first day, for whatever reason, the systems weren't in place to get them the food that they wanted, and so they got money from the school system that donated the money, and they went to McDonald's and got a bunch of Egg McMuffins and stuff like that. It smelled really rancid. It made me really sad. I was passing that out when there were lots of volunteers, endless volunteers, and there was a commercial kitchen that we could have actually made food in there, and I felt really helpless because I wasn't allowed to. So anyway, long story short, this organization, World Kitchen or World Central Kitchen, is kind of doing the opposite of that. They are using real food, vegetables, chopping it up, making nutritious meals for people that need it, and going to disaster areas. It's really amazing. Remember, they were there during that hurricane in the Bahamas last year. They were ready to go. They watched the weather and they're ready to set up. They just have to wait until the flooding has subsided enough that they can fly in or get, transported in somehow and start setting up their kitchens without any regard to how hard it's going to be or how challenging it's going to be. So, but anyway, donate if you can, or share the post that's on my Facebook page, and you'll be happy you did. I think feels so good, to contribute to these causes that are doing things that we wish we could do, but we're, maybe taking care of children or have responsibilities that we can't take off for weeks at a time to help. We could donate a little bit of money, even $5 will make a difference. So thank you for sharing or donating whatever you can. I'm adding some fish sauce to start seasoning this. And again, you could use lime juice and soy sauce instead. And I'm going to do fish sauce and cocoa aminos because those are my favorite. And I'm just going to give this a quick taste here. And to me, that is plenty spicy enough. So I probably put in about a tablespoon and a half of fish sauce and maybe about 2 tablespoons of cocoa aminos. If you're using soy sauce instead of cocoa aminos and the lime juice, you'll have to kind of test that out. You'll need about the juice of a half of a lime roughly and about maybe a tablespoon of soy sauce. And then I'm going to add mushrooms. You could saute these ahead of time if you want, but oftentimes I just put them right in. And I've made this before with chicken and mushrooms. You could do either or both. But since I'm doing the shiitake and the oyster mushrooms, I thought that was going to be enough without adding extra chicken. And let's see.
Some food is going nuts.
So because we're making this soup, our cats can smell it and they think it's time for lunch. Okay. I think that is going to be just right. I'm going to tidy up here a bit. Oh, so something I kind of forgot about is that I probably should have mentioned at the very beginning is I like to serve this soup with jasmine rice. It's actually really good on its own, but it's a little bit too light for a meal. So I really like to serve this with some jasmine rice. So it's not too late if you want to put on a pot of rice. It's only going to take about 15 minutes to get it up to a boil, simmer it for 10 to 12 minutes, and then let it sit a few minutes to steam. We already had some rice made last night that we're going to warm up. But, typically at a Thai restaurant, they'll serve you some rice on the side. Some jasmine rice especially has really nice aromatic properties that go really well with this soup. So you can either serve the rice on the side and then people can spoon it into their bowls, or you can start with rice at the bottom of the bowl and then add your soup to it. You can see that these mushrooms are shrinking up. At first it looked like there wasn't going to be enough broth, but I think it's going to be just right. So I'm still debating if I'm going to serve it with all of these chunks of lemongrass and stuff in there. Kind of want to pull some of them out, but you can use tongs so you don't burn yourself, like I'm doing. But, really you can leave them in. It's like some of my lemongrass is kind of falling apart into smaller and smaller pieces, so. Okay, it looks like this is kind of ready for a final seasoning. And then we can garnish it. And what we'll probably do is warm up our rice that we have from last night. Just steam it in a pot with just a little bit of water at the bottom. Put the rice in, bring it up to a boil, and then turn it off with the lid on. And it'll just warm up
Jeff Watson is here.
really easily. Hi, Jeff. We had this soup together 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And Jeff brought his spicy Thai chilies and hot sauces to go with it because he probably knew that I wasn't going to make it very spicy. So that was perfect because he could have it the way that he wanted it and I could have it the way I wanted it, and everybody was happy. Okay. So I'll be posting this recipe shortly after we're done here today. And it'll be on cooklovefeel.com, and I'll also put a link with the video here if you want to check it out later. And again, we have some big chunks of ginger and lemongrass in here, but you can pull those out. And if you would like to make it the other way, where you pull them out ahead of time, just simmer the broth for about 30 minutes, and then before you put the onion and mushrooms in, you can take a skimmer or a spider and take all of those solids out. It's totally fine. So again, you can serve this with jasmine rice, garnish it with any and all. And this smells so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Can you smell it, Nelson?
Yeah, it makes me hungry.
And then I usually like to wait until the end to put some lime juice on because it can get bitter if you're really boiling the citrus juice. But I hope that you enjoy making your tom kha soup exactly the way you like it.
Ginger Snap wants to say hello.
Ginger. He is a big fan of food.
That looks so good.
Yeah. So thanks so much for taking a look at my fundraiser for the World Central Kitchen.
I can put up a picture of that maybe.
And yeah, we will post it along with the recipe and make sure that you can find it. I'm going to have that going until I think October 4th or 5th, so you'll be able to see it on there. And share it with your friends. Share this recipe once I put it up so that everybody can enjoy it. So thanks for joining me today, and bon appetit.